But now we are joined by Sri B. Sundar, Special Secretary, Department of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of Andhra Pradesh. We welcome B. Sundar. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you, APAC. Thank you, Mr. Saud Goswami, for giving us this opportunity.
So I'll go straight to you. Your thoughts on securing India's critical infrastructure, building future foundations of India on cloud. Let's have a Andhra Pradesh perspective from Mr. B. Sundar. Over to you.
Uh, Thank you, APAC. When we are talking about cloud infrastructure, uh, several things come to mind. In the sense, on the one hand, we have to balance the some of them could be legitimate political concerns that data should be within the in-house prem of a government designated data center. On the other hand, much of our data is static and a few of them are dynamic, especially with reference to the government citizen services. So it makes, let me say, optimal sense to have to leverage the benefits of the cloud as well as have some critical data within the within the infrastructure owned by the government. Now, what do we actually mean by the cloud? Now, this is where several of us, including those amongst policy making in the government, also falter. When we mean public cloud, it is the cloud services offered by the big three firms like Amazon, Google, and certain and of course IBM. These three firms, which give us the web services in their cloud, including compute and storage, they somehow in the industry have a connotation which is likened to the public cloud. And the rest of the several other cloud service providers who are small, they offer and they're similar services but not at scale, and these entities are jointly called the private cloud service providers. Now, to do away with these distinctions, the Ministry of Electronics and IT came up with the concept of Meghdut, wherein they empaneled a select set of cloud service vendors who had the necessary expertise and the quality parameters to offer cloud services to the government. By cloud services, we mean only two. One is storage and the other is compute. So in Andhra Pradesh, much of our earlier services were in the state data center at Hyderabad, and we over a period of 2 3 years we migrated most of the services to the another state-owned data center at Vijayawada, and where we also hired some of the some of the private cloud service vendors, several of them from the government empaneled MeitY vendors. So in effect, going by the definition of cloud, we had a unique hybrid cloud hybrid cloud infrastructure for most of our IT services in the state. Now, what exactly do we host there? That is another important question. Much of our bandwidth for our state wide area network, secretariat wide area network, and the connectivity for the mandal and the districts are housed in the cloud services. So this is where the much of our work happens. And for that, you require a huge bandwidth. And the state data center which we are currently having is sufficient for the present purposes. But we are now planning to have a much bigger state data center considering the future usage. So just to give you the idea of the capacities for the state data center for a state like us, it is around 1300 gigabyte, where 500 gigabyte is in NAS storage, that is network access storage type, and another 600 gigabyte is in the SAN storage, that is storage area network. Now, there is no qualitative or quantitative uh, merit between the two. It depends on the applications. So, for certain other services which require very fast storage, we go for SAN. For those where time is not an important factor, but data from multiple sources like maps, geospatial information, these have to be stored. We go for the NAS storage. So, in accordance with the standards set by the industry, we leverage both the NAS storage as well as the SAN storage. And how about the architecture for cloud? Earlier, we had the monolith structure, and going by the contemporary standards, we are now opted for the leaf and spline architecture. That is where most of the storage and the compute virtual memories are based on an architecture that is very similar to the leaf and spline. That is, you have a horizontal span instead of a vertical silo. The advantage is, even if one of our primary channels conks, you have a redundant machine to take care of the flow. The disadvantage is there is redundancy both in terms of memory and compute, but we have consciously taken this decision to go for the leaf and spline architecture. Now, this in brief is how we have gone about setting up the cloud services for our state IT infrastructure, leveraging not only the capabilities of the cloud, but also recognizing the fact that certain critical infrastructure have to be within the state IT infrastructure premises. If there are any other questions on this, I'm free to you're free to ask. And uh, another aspect with reference to, yeah, citizen services data too, we began with the idea of moving to the cloud, and the price discovery is a sticky point because we do not have precedents both within our state as well as outside. When we took a study of how much we need to spend, because cloud is just like renting a building. After 10 or 15 years, since we are spending money from the public exchequer, it doesn't make sense to say that we lived royally in a five-star hotel without owning the property. So, so this sentiment too has to be balanced. We need to have a permanent IT infrastructure for the state where the best of the technologies are housed here for not only for the public departments to consume, but also for other private players to lease and operate their businesses within our state data centers. This is the vision with which we are going, and hopefully we should be able to leverage the best of both worlds.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Mr. V. Sundar, Special Secretary Department of Electronics and IT, Government of Andhra Pradesh. And as you have said that how you're using unique hybrid cloud infrastructure for most of the IT service in the state of AP, and also you gave the details of various data centers and how you're implementing cloud computing in the state of AP. Thank you so much.